You gonna run with me, sausage? Let's go! Run, 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 run! Even though I don't actually want to go back to Sydney because it is plague town at the moment with the Delta variant kicking off, I'm going back and I'm wearing my Free Britney shirt because Jesus Christ, that girl deserves to be free. And I have to do a lot of unfun things like get all my cancer checkups, and I mean, that's why I'm not delaying my trip until COVID settles back down. If it does settle back down, off we go. I am in Sydney, and what you can tell from my crazy ass bed hair is that I've actually slept. Hallelujah. But I am now on my way to go and get all of my cancer scans and blood tests, and it freaks me out that people have been avoiding doing this kind of thing in COVID. I mean, I get it. Nobody wants to get COVID, but you know what? I want to get cancer again a whole lot less. So I'm going to go and do all my tests, even though the plague has kicked off in Sydney, because I'm supposed to see my endocrinologist on Thursday. I was going to go into the clinic to do it, but I won't with the plague being as it is. I will telehealth that. But, I mean, you've got to get your tests done, people. The doctors were happy with my scans, which if my blood tests come back good as well, that means that I am now 9.5 years in remission, which is great. Being back in the area kind of reminds me of all the good times we had here. We did late night kebab runs all the time, and we had a couple of epic parties. We had one that was a cross-dressing pajama party, which went off, and I remember the police turned up, but I didn't hear them knocking even though I was right beside the door. And they came in, and I kind of thought they were part of the party and started dancing with them, and yeah, didn't go so well. But it is nice to be back in the area. I drove past my old apartment and it is still exactly the same, which is cool because this area has gone through a lot of change. But the hill that it's on is not as big as I remember, but I mean, that's still a place of great memories. It's the only place I've ever been on a scooter. There was one time I thought it would be great if we made our own cookies and cream ice cream. And so we decided to both get on the scooter when it was my first time on the scooter at the top of the hill. And we flew down the hill and both had to jump off at one point, and my friend landed on top of me and I thought I'd broken my hip. And I limped into the servo bleeding, and we got our ice cream and our cookies and cream, and it was the best damn ice cream we've ever had. So I guess it was kind of a good idea, even if it went pear-shaped. But I do miss the mischief of being in my early 20s, especially seeing I lost the majority of my 20s to cancer. But those early 20s were good times. We are back in lockdown, and I am so glad we are in the country and not in the city for this, because even though we're in lockdown, we can still do a ton of things without coming into contact with other people. As it happens, I am on auntie duties for the foreseeable future, which is how I got my shiner. It was a book that got stabbed into my head in the early hours of the morning. So now I'm trying to get my little squirrel pants to get ready so we can go and see the whales. I don't know what that's about. Oh, we gotta have clips in the hair before we go and see the whales, hey? Because you can see the whales from the headlands. Huzzah! What a mess. Okay, so we're gonna have a watermelon clip, a lemon clip, and a unicorn ring. Is that what you're telling me? And then we can go and see the whales from the headland?
A pink one on the right hand and a yellow one on the left hand.
Okay. Just two little kangaroos on the side of the road. My hat really goes off to all the authors who are primary caregivers, because I've got a little squirrel in my company now, and she's with me for the foreseeable future because Sydney is in lockdown, so her parents can't come back and we can't go back to Sydney, but it's quite lovely. But in the same breath, I had intentions of writing 50,000 words this week, and I haven't even written 5. All I've done is get clocked in the eye with a sharp book at 6 o'clock in the morning. I can see whales jumping off the coast behind me, which is really cool, and we can do this without anybody else around, but she's more interested in muddy puddles, so. We managed to get out of Sydney before things got really crazy with the Delta variant of COVID, but we're still erring on the side of caution and staying away from other people. But that's the really incredible thing about being here in the country, is that we can come to places like this and watch whales from a cliff top, or dig in a muddy puddle if that's whatever floats your boat. But we can do it without coming into contact with other people, and we can do it without risking our health or other people's health. And I'm just so glad we're here and not in the city. Lockdown's not so bad. I've got a book, she's got the beach, everybody's happy. Obviously things are really difficult at the moment, but they're also really beautiful. The fact that I can be here and that I can supervise my niece while she plays on the beach, and this is kind of how she gets to spend her school holidays. We're really blessed, even though this Delta variant is sort of wreaking havoc on Sydney. And even though I'm personally going through a lot and it has been really difficult, it has also been really beautiful, and I know I'm lucky. Okay, so this time you're the baddie and you get 1 cross and I get 3 circles.
Well, I'll jump on you.
Oh, I feel like these rules might not be fair. Hey, it's still my turn! I honestly thought I'd be much more of a mess. I thought I'd be a fucking mess, but I think the only times I really seem to be getting messy are when I'm talking to people who didn't really know Marley and didn't really know what he meant to me, and so I feel like I have to justify my grief. But talking about him to people who knew what he meant to me is not as traumatic, oddly, as talking to people who didn't know him. Being here with Ruby is really a blessing. It is giving me time to decompress. I think if she wasn't here, I'd feel a pressure to try and do more, to try and write more. And it's also really interesting seeing grief from the perspective of a young kid. She talks a lot about him being buried, and almost every morning the first conversation we have is about how he's not here and she doesn't have to be careful where she steps anymore, and how she loves him and misses him. So it has been, I think, therapeutic, but also a little bit confronting at times. Obviously, I know how lucky we are to be able to come to a beautiful beach, even if it is seaweed covered today, and play here by ourselves and stay safe and stay isolated. And I know how lucky we are to spend this time together. It really is a privilege and a luxury. And when I look back at last year and everything that I went through over the last couple of years with my business and the insane stress and selling it, I'm so glad I sold it. I'm so glad I walked away. And I think I definitely needed this time. And I can't imagine having gone through Marley's last few months back in Sydney. It would have been so difficult. And it was so lovely to be able to give him the retirement he deserved. And it's so nice that I have that financial cushion from having sold the business, that I can actually take a little bit of time off work and just relax and process a little bit. I think there's a lot of traumas that I've been through in the past, like I've had cancer and stuff like that I never really processed properly. I think I was so desperate to get back to normal, get back to having a life, get back to being at work, that I didn't really process them properly. And I think that kicked me in the ass a little bit last year during the main part of COVID in Australia, even though here we go again. but I can't imagine doing it all while working. I really can't. So I feel really blessed and lucky to have this time. Run, 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 run. It's up, it's up. Woohoo! Oh my God, she did it. She's so little and she did it. There is definitely part of me that is worried that I'm not meeting my writing goals, that I'm not making the most of this year off. But I'm also aware that I'm a human who's going through some shit, and I'm trying to give myself some time to breathe and to process. And I don't really know if that's what I'm doing because I feel a bit numb, or if I'm just pushing it down, but I don't really know what else to do. And so I'm just taking each day as it comes, and I guess as I feel like it, I'll start writing again. I'm trying to get back to filming and get back to a bit more of a normal structure, but it is difficult with a little child in tow, and I don't know how long she will be with me. And really, I mean, I just tip my hat to the parents who somehow do this self-publishing thing and do it successfully and have kids, because I really don't know how they do it. It is like your whole day revolves around keeping them amused, keeping them out of trouble, keeping them fed and getting them to bed. And then once they're in bed, you just want to sit down and have a minute. And I haven't felt like writing yet. And I don't know if that's because I'm going through some shit, or if it's just because I'm not used to getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock would be a bloody luxury. But yeah, I just don't know if I'm not used to getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's why it's not happening at this point. Maybe we'll get into a better routine, and I don't know. So maybe when I'm not being woken up by a super cute alarm clock anymore, I will find my creative spirit again and go back to writing. I do really want to try and write 50,000 words in a week. I just don't know if it's possible. That being said, I have easily written 6,000 words in a day, so I don't see why it shouldn't be possible. I think it's just a discipline issue. I have also had some thoughts about going back to work, not because I miss it at all, but because I'm kind of uncomfortable with how much money you spend without having a job and how kind of quickly it goes out the door. And I think I'm just twitchy because I don't have a job, but I really need to kind of change my perspective and redirect my focus so that self-publishing and being an author is my job, and that's what I do 9 to 5 or whatever hours, and I need to make that happen and have it actually be like my job that I go to work at my home and do. But I think that is really going to take a perspective shift, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I think that's kind of why I'm getting twitchy and thinking about going to work. I'm also thinking about doing it just purely from a social perspective, because it is very difficult to establish a social group down here, especially if you don't have kids. And I don't want my best friend to feel like she's obligated in any way to be my social entertainment. So there is a little bit of that, but I also just really don't want to go back to work. But there are some good jobs that are available right now that I would be good for, so I don't know, might end up back at work, who knows. But for right now, it's all about auntie duties and just trying to have a little bit of fun, find the joy in life again. Oh, Ruby stingray!
Whoa.
It's huge. He's eating the fish you threw. Ruby Tuesday does my makeup. Have I given you an idea and now you're drawing me into Santa Claus?